مر الزمان تألقا وأضاء للدنيا طريقا مشرقا وهدى من الرحمن يهدينا به للصالحات وللمكارم والتقى هذا كتاب الله أعذب منهل أنعم به.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the 13th part of this series where we are looking at the 40 hadith pertaining to the virtues and the rulings of the Quran. Today's hadith is a very powerful and moving hadith, the hadith of Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, which is reported in the Sahihain, the two books of Sahih hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Abdullah bin Mas'ud, "Iqra alayya," that read the Quran to me. Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he said, "Aqra alayka al-Quran wa alayka unzil?" Like, should I really read the Quran to you even though should I read the Quran to you even though it was revealed to you? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَإِنِّي أُحِبُّ أَنْ أَسْمَعَهُ مِنْ غَيْرِي. For indeed I love to hear the Quran from someone other than me. So Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he began to recite from Surah An-Nisa until he reached the verses, فَكَيْفَ إِذَا جِئْنَا مِنْ كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ بِشَهِيدٍ وَجِئْنَا بِكَ عَلَى هَؤُلَاءِ شَهِيدًا. That how will it be that when we will bring from every nation a witness, and that we will bring you, O Muhammad, as a witness over them. And then Abdullah ibn Mas'ud heard the Prophet ﷺ said, "Amsik," like stop, just stop in your recitation. And he looked to the face of the Prophet ﷺ and he saw that the Prophet ﷺ was weeping and he began to cry. What can we learn from this moving and touching hadith? We learn the virtue of listening to the Quran from others, because the Prophet ﷺ said, I like and I love to hear the Quran from others. And this is a practice that you find not many people, unfortunately, they engage in. At most, you find people, they do listen to the Quran, but they usually listen to the Quran from maybe their mobile phones or from their computers or from an MP3 device, etc. But rarely do you find someone say to another Muslim, read the Quran, for I love to hear the Quran from somebody else. But what's so special about listening to the Quran from somebody else? The scholars, they mention that listening to the Quran from somebody else actually helps one to reflect upon the Quran itself. Now a person might say, well, I can achieve that by listening to the Quran on my phone or on the computer. However, there's a difference. Because when you're listening to the Quran on your phone or on the computer, you are not engaged completely. And your mind is not focused, as it would be if you were sitting in front of a person who is reciting the Quran to you. There's many times maybe we are on the phone, we are listening to the Quran, and we get distracted. We look here, we look there. We might, start writing something, or we might talk to somebody else. But if someone is physically sitting in front of you and they are reciting Quran to you, you are forced to reflect and to be still and to listen attentively to the recitation of the Quran. Secondly, because you are listening, you can pay all of your attention to trying to listen and to understand the words. Whereas the one who recites the Quran, he is focused not just on the words itself, but he is focused on the recitation and making sure that he recites in a correct manner. Whereas the one who listens, he can put all of his devotion and attention to the listening of the Quran, and therefore it makes tadabbur, reflection upon the Quran, easier. Also in this hadith we learn something amazing about the Prophet ﷺ, because he began to cry upon hearing these words, which indicates something important, and we have to ask an important question. Why did the Prophet ﷺ cry upon hearing these ayat? Some scholars mention that he began to cry because of the fact that he has to be a witness, not just for his ummah, but also a witness against his ummah. Subhanallah. For the shortcomings of this ummah, there will be a witness against them. And who will be this witness against them? It will be the Prophet ﷺ, because he came to them with the message. And because of his intense love for the ummah of Muhammad ﷺ, for his ummah, he finds it very difficult to be a witness. He will find it very difficult to be a witness against us. Other interpretations state that he cried because of happiness, that the fact that he will be a witness, and therefore if he is a witness, surely his testimony will be accepted by Allah. So it shows you how much love he had for his ummah. maybe more so than the love that we have for him. Subhanallah. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We also learn something important from this hadith as well, which is the importance of weeping upon listening and reciting the Quran. Imam al-Ghazali, he said, weeping is recommended while reciting the Quran or witnessing its recitation. And the way to achieve this is by bringing sadness to the mind, by pondering the threats and the warnings, the covenants, the agreements that it contains, and then contemplating one's shortcomings with regard to them. If this does not bring to the mind sadness and weeping, as it does with the elite worshippers, then one should weep from the lack of it, since that is the greatest of calamities. Subhanallah. And we find this practice of listening to the Quran from others and asking others to recite was the practice of the companions as well. Like Umar ibn Khattab, he used to say to Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhu, who was known for having beautiful recitation, that he used to say, ذَكِّرْنَا رَبَّكَ ذَكِّرْنَا رَبَّنَا, that remind us of our Lord through your recitation. So inshallah, let us try and revive this practice, inshallah ta'ala, and make a habit of listening to the Quran attentively, so that we can, inshallah, be of those who truly reflect upon its meanings. And in the next episode, inshallah, we will look at, because now we looked at the importance of listening to recitation, we need to know the criteria of what it means to listen to a good reciter. Who is a good reciter? In the next episode, we will look at the criteria to decide what a good reciter is, inshallah. So tune in for that episode, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.